Greetings and salutations. It is I, Johnny, and here we are on the Who the Heaven Is I podcast. Numero, I guess this is kind of number 10 if you're including that bonus episode I dropped last night. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. I met this guy in an airport coming back from New York back down to Florida, and it was like 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and he was wearing this really cool shirt, and I just made a comment on it. That's the kind of guy I am. If I see something, say something, and I think sending positivity out there into the universe is really important because there's a lot of negativity out there. So just if I could say something, to acknowledge a human being, that's really what it is. Like it's acknowledging someone put something on their person. What they dress, how they live. They do it intentionally. So shirt was cool. Gave him a comment, and we just started talking. And we were really at first we were the only two dudes in the airport. Really great time to fly, to be honest with you. It's early in the AM, and we started talking. And me being a man of action, I like to just to jump right into things, and sometimes that can be off-putting because a lot of people like to think about it and research it and plan and see if it's going to be a good fit. Whereas me, I'm willing to try things. I'm willing to be that test pilot, the person that goes out on the ledge and says, "Oh yeah, this is kind of cool," or "Nope, this ain't gonna work." And that's been with lots of things, mainly with technology. Like I've usually been an early adopter. Although nowadays, financially, it doesn't seem to be sensible because this technology changes so quick. It almost seems better, when something new comes out, wait 2-3 years for the price to drop down to mainstream pricing and then dive in. But anyway, so Mike Doc McFarlane, a blessed soul of the universe, designer, sustainable apparel creator, and just all around good dude. Now, the interesting thing is, a lot of the things we talked about was like of the same mindset. Like we were talking about. Well, I'll let you listen to the episode. The idea of me even just mentioning it is just because you never know who you're going to meet when you're walking down the street. And if you live in your silo, meaning just keep your mouth shut and just go from point A to point B, like, it's like, a closed connection. But even if you like, like when I'm walking down the street or and a car passes me, usually I'll wave, to say, "Hey, what's up?" Because it's kind of like, A, don't hit me. But B, it's like just saying, "Hey, I'm a good dude. I'm a friend, not foe." And maybe that should be the focus of the show. Well, it's interesting. In my head, when I start these episodes, I have something planted out there. And today, it's like kind of like, forget about it. And that's we'll talk about friend or foe a little bit, but the forget about it mentality is what I really wanted to focus on because I think that's something that's happened. I don't even know when I made the shift because, while the core essence of who I, Johnny, is, it's there. It's been there ever since day one. If you look at the photo, like, I want to say I was in kindergarten, maybe first grade when I got that microphone. Because that was, the house of my youth. Christmas Day, that photo. And I got that microphone because in the car, used to, yeah, yeah, had to been, oh, I guess it had to be, yeah, I'm trying to think when that album came out. My brother Frank turned me on to the album Glass Houses by Billy Joel. And that was it. Once I heard that, I was like, yo, like, I just love that album. It just, I mean, it started so cool, the breaking of the glass, and then it was all over from there. In fact, karaoke, that's my jam. You may be right. I may be crazy. And it's actually one of my 8-bit melodies I'm working on, because people say you have to do cover tunes if you want to do music. And I'm like, that's their song. Why would I sing their song over and over again? But then I do get sometimes people like familiarity. So in Johnny fashion, I've started digitizing songs on my iPad, downloading the MIDI files, converting them over into something that I think sounds sonically appealing, and then changing the lyrics. So you may be right in the alternate universe becomes you may be wrong. You may be wrong. I may be sane, but you just may be looking for something to complain. Yeah, something like that. I haven't, gotten all the lyrics done on that one yet. But anyway, so that picture of me is Christmas Day, microphone. Santa Claus got me that because they knew that Johnny had some sort of calling. And hey, decades later, maybe I'm now tapping into. But I in middle school, I started tapping into it a little bit. I did the plays and stuff like that. Teen 3, When the Chips Are Down. Brian Nieves, you remember that one? I was the only seventh grader that was really in the drama club back then, or whatever it was. And let me say, Brian Nieves and Andrea Garitano, and they were in this thing, and I had a small role. I was the janitor, but I played that role. I don't know if they remember that. But then in high school, I got into, communications class, and that's when the conch took off. And I had a little segment on the Wildcat News where I'd go around and interview people and make little funny skits with my friends, and it was a good thing. And then that translated into New York City, and then everything kind of started getting crazy in my life, and then I kind of got away from it. So the essence of Johnny has always been, this dude with the mic. And I think that sometimes in life, we cling on to the past. Like one of the things in high school that I did also was the Battle of the Bands. And, it was what it was, I didn't practice to the same degree that most musicians do because I'm kind of a multifaceted dude. And, it showed up in my craft, and because of that, it's one of those things that if I used to I couldn't watch the performance. It was just like fingernails on the chalkboard. And, it came to be where straight up I felt embarrassed to even watch it. I didn't even want my parents to come to the thing, and rumor has it that they hung out in the back, of the auditorium, but I didn't want them to come because I felt that it was going to be overly critical for my father, like, because pretty much my whole life, everything I've ever done, he's kind of, and I know his heart has been in the right place to kind of give me pointers on how to get better, but if you don't get the positive reinforcement, then it's kind of like, whoa, I'm a POS, not a point of sale system, but I feel worthless. That I'm never doing anything good. If there's always better. But that's kind of what forged me into who I am today, and I'm appreciative of that. But I think there's different ways to do things, and I think it was what it was, and I'm very appreciative of the way my parents raised me. Obviously, with anything, there's always opportunity, but it could have been much worse. Um, but the whole thing about like having stuff encapsulated in time, like if I hung on to that moment and just always used that as my my litmus test, say, hey, this is all I can be and all I can do, then I'd be really depressed all the time and I would never get to the next level because I'd be hanging on that last performance. It's kind of like these even podcasts. I haven't really gone back and listened to any of these, and I don't know if I ever will, because it's one and done. I'm just doing this to kind of get my thoughts out of my head, and share a little insight about me. I use the alfalfa method. I'm the hapless romantic, and it is what it is. I'll take the good with the bad, but I'd rather be honest and genuine than overproduced and perfected to T, and lose the fun and the excitement and the spontaneity. And you have to forget about things. So like, I meet Mike McFarland in that, airport, and Doc and I talked, and that episode's been sitting in the can for a year and a half. I have a whole series of interviews I did during the pandemic that, I have to start launching them because there's such great content in those conversations, and they're really rugged conversations. But I really feel that there's value to it if you can stomach the diarrhea of my mouth, because some of the stuff was pandemic produced, and when you're in isolation, when you finally get a human being to converse with, the interviews became more skewed. Instead of me uncovering who they were, a lot of them were me kind of just being me. But they're fun. They're fun, and I'll get them out there. But I think if you can't get over your past and learn to evolve, then you're stuck literally in your high school mentality or college mentality, because what are you learning? Like nowadays, I think society's a little bit different because there's a lot of good resource out there, like the YouTube and the like masterclass is something that I did with my friend Megan during the pandemic. Like there's ways to learn, and back in the day, at least when I was a kid growing up in 80s, 90s, it was mainly books and some DVD stuff. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of people they want to get out and do stuff, which was cool, because especially back then we'd do a lot of stuff outside. But getting content is so much easier now, and evolution is something that can really occur. But the problem is there's an overstimulation of media. I had a great conversation with two entrepreneurs from the 10990 that will be on the Conch 10990 edition, Heather and Gianna. And we were just talking about this whole, cancel culture, and, how if someone says something that doesn't agree with who you are, instead of having a conversation, it becomes, hey, I'm blocking you out and I want nothing to do with you. But then you're not sharing your mindset. And that's kind of like the foundation for my song, well, the SoulPilot's song, Naked Minds. It's one of those things that if you allow people to attack you and bring you down, then what's going to happen is, if you don't stand up for who you are, and I'm not saying fight back, but defend your core essence of who you are, then you're losing your identity. And they're not going to get who you are, because ultimately, I believe the goal is to, peacefully share who you are, and people to not judge and attack and say nasty stuff if they don't agree with who you are, how you live. But you got to get your essence out there. So the lyrics song starts out, I furnish the weapons with which you destroy me. Now these voices in my head are starting to annoy me. Ripping and pulling, pulling and ripping. I ain't ever done acid, but I feel like I'm tripping. Deceptively deceiving, my mind has me believing that there's no way of achieving a mutual understanding. I'm not trying to be your perfection. I'm only trying to make a connection. So come get naked, open your mind, and let the world inside. Open your mind and let the world inside. And that's it. The lyric is read twice at the end. They open the mind stuff because when you open your mind to other people's things, your point of view, your perspective can change because you're not then locked into the way you see things. And I'm saying in a true conversation, not in a battle of, hey, I believe this and you believe that. Let's fight and see who wins and which idea is better. No, but an open mind conversation is when, hey, what do you think? And you actively listen. You're not listening to respond. You're listening to hear what they have to say. And then they'll share their opinion. And that, to me, allows you to see their open mind and them to see your open mind. And I feel that when we have naked minds that are open, amenable to change, but also able to broadcast our beliefs peacefully, the world could be a much more beautiful place, and the pieces of the puzzle of this universe come together. And that's what happened in the interview with Doc McFarlane and I. Check it out. It's a longer episode. It's a sneak peek of the My Friends and I audio podcast. But the video podcast coming soon. You can follow me on the IG at iJohnny, and my my business podcast, my podcast, IG, at the Wizardcast. I have a couple. I have my musical one, the SoulPilot, and for after hours and for the adult crowd, my alter ego, MC Fazio, dude with a mic, and it's kind of like, this, but more adult geared, because sometimes adults have different things to discuss that I think is something that the youngins, let them stay young while they're young. Let them be exploratory. I had the pleasure of meeting several times, and actually he's on one of my my friends and I podcasts, video podcasts, and we've had many connections. Ricky Williams, former running back of the Miami Dolphins, but he's an entrepreneur, a free thinker, a blessed soul of the universe. And when I first met him, he talked about his kids. He lets them kind of explore. Like, obviously he's not going to let them run out in traffic and get hit by a car, but he'll let them make their own decisions and be their own things. And I think that's important, to give our children a great foundation of boundaries and just a way for them to have some sort of spine and to be able to stand on their own. But then let them explore, let them unlock their soul, let them unlock their passions, and encourage them, even if it sounds crazy. Like encouragement goes a long way. So hopefully you get a chance to check out the Doc McFarlane episode of the My Friends and I sneak peek, and stay connected with me. I put polls on every one of these episodes, and if you're in Spotify, in the app, it actually comes up. There's a question and a poll. So that stuff's going to be open for a while. So hopefully you get a chance to commit it. And then as far as, that, fortitude of your mind, you got to let things go. The Stone Temple Pilots have an awesome song called The Art of Letting Go, because if you're holding on to the past, that's where you stay, and that's where depression and the lack of progress happens, because you're stuck in the past. And it's not just for yourself. You have to let people go too. Like, I know that while my core essence of who I am is still the same, I am a much more evolved man. And if you don't realize that, then come. Have a cup of tea with me. Let's meditate. Let's go walk in nature. Let's go jam out. Let's go do some blacklight art. Let's connect on a multitude of levels, because I'm sure there's a lot I can learn from you. And there might be a nugget or two I can share with you. So thank you all for watching the Who the Heaven Is I podcast. Keep on keeping on and have an amazing day.